We're back. It's season 5 of See, Hear, Love, and it's all about changes. And today, we're giving you tips on how to navigate change well.
You are seen, you are heard, you are loved by God. You're not alone, you're fully known, you are loved by God.
Well, welcome to See, Hear, Love. It's season 5. Woo! It's great to have the team together. Lisa, Brooke, Joanna, Cheryl, welcome back.
It's good to be back.
Was it a busy summer?
Crazy.
Yeah? Okay.
Great.
Well, here we are at season 5. What are you looking forward to the most for this new season? Personally, for the show, your life? What would you say? Lisa, what would you say?
New people. It's always exciting, new people, because I think the older I get, I appreciate the stories that people bring.
Yeah.
And that just helps me understand how God is so unique and how much he cares. And
Yeah.
it's inspiring.
Yeah.
It's inspiring.
It is.
So meeting new people
Yeah.
for this new season. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna sort of the same. I mean, Steve and I have so much traveling coming up for this season across Canada, and it's always so cool to I don't know, just meet so many new people, like thousands of new people, and hear their stories and get to know where they come from and what they're doing. And so, yeah, same. I'm very excited for this new season.
That's awesome. I love that.
I'm building a new business, so I'm excited
Yeah.
to figure that out.
Yeah,
and do some
yeah.
and do some travel and work with lots of different clients. It's gonna be great.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, expanding my ministry and really excited to see where God leads it. It's a big step of faith, and I think I'm going to be gleaning from these shows coming up on faith and change, trying to get my lessons as I go.
That's good. I would say all of it. I would say meeting the new people, seeing where the show goes and the connections. I'm excited. And every season, when you come into a new season, don't you get a little bit of that feeling in you?
But September, it feels like a new year. It always
Yeah, it
does.
does.
It's more
Yeah.
than January.
Yeah.
It's that new
Yeah. It's a
year,
reset.
fresh. Yeah.
And what a perfect place to do a reset than here at Tyndale University College Seminary in Toronto, in front of, are you guys ready? A live student audience.
Yes.
I love how I just did that so naturally. I didn't even have to prep you. I kind of did. Well, I love this community because it's a community of 1,600 students with 12,000 alumni representing 60 ethnic backgrounds and 40
Awesome.
church denominations.
Incredible.
And there might be a few alumnus here on the set, right, Cheryl? Well, also, Tyndale Seminary is Canada's largest and oldest graduate school of theology, and the university really prepares young people to have critical thinking in their faith. So it's great to be here as we listen, we learn, and we begin to change. So what a great backdrop for our show today on how to navigate change well. So how many of you, talking to the audience, are going through significant changes? Let me list them and raise your hands as it happens. First year of university. New dorm roommate.
So young.
New city that you're here, nice and high. New friends. Overwhelmed by classes.
All of you.
Overwhelmed by finances.
Everybody.
Responsibilities. I know, and we're all like this too. Yeah, us too. So you get, and we get the importance of navigating through change well, right?
Yeah.
And you too, as well.
Yeah.
And it never ends.
I was just laughing at the new roommate. She was like, wonder what that roommate's
Is the
like.
roommate going to be watching? No, it's good. And I think, the topic came up because I think, as we just said, September starts a new year, a new feeling of change. This is the perfect show for it. So let's start off, though, with a new segment for this new season called News and Views. And I'm going to share a little bit of news, and I want your initial responses as I give you a little bit of statistics on this. So from Nick Tassler at Psychology Today, he wrote an article called Why 1 in 3 People Adapt to Change More Successfully. Only 1 in 3 people. And quickly, this is what he said. He assessed the work of researchers Salvador Madi and Roxanne Cohen-Silver, and this is what they found. They researched and followed a bunch of people at a big company in the US, and layoffs happened, divorces, kids, all kinds of things. And they said the majority could not handle the change, and they actually crashed. But the 1/3 of those people that went through all those changes over 12 years thrived because they chose not to look back at the past and say, I wish it was what it was like then. They stepped forward.
So good.
That was it. The second one, just quickly in research from Roxanne, she assessed a number of people who were bereaved parents, had lost kids, had gone through terrorist attacks, had gone through natural disasters. And they said that they always thought that people going through change, moving forward, needed to know the why in their suffering. What they found out was 1 in 3 who thrived and healed after those changes did not ask the why. What did they do? They stepped forward.
Yeah.
Thoughts, because that is an essential part of change. What do you think? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm all in for that. I feel like there's 2 things there. There's sort of navigating change and navigating trauma. And I feel like navigating change can happen positively when you just sort of take another view of it. Like, this is a new season, a new chapter, a new page. There's something new and wonderful coming out of it. I feel like we dread sometimes rather than sort of being optimistic, like what new thing, what great thing can come out of that. For trauma, I would just encourage someone to change their why to what. So instead of the why did this happen, why me, what can I learn from that experience?
Exactly.
What would God have me learn? How can I use this in a good way? What can I share in terms of lessons out of it? And I feel like you would find that would actually almost be a ministry tool or a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I love that because I think that like change is all about your perspective. Like, for example, like I moved from like a cool condo downtown Toronto to the suburbs. And like, I could look behind me and be like, oh, I'm missing out on this like cool, exciting life in Toronto. But actually like, God's given us so many gifts in the suburbs that like we need to look at and focus on and give thanks for. And I think when it comes to like anything to do with change, I think perspective is like a huge part of it.
So you just did a shout out to the suburbs. The burbs. Yoo! And all the people
Thriving in the
burbs.
burbs. Thriving in the burbs.
Awesome.
I think for me, something very key is understanding the sovereignty of God. And there's a Bible verse that always comes to mind when we talk about change and just the chaos and the internal turmoil that can come with it. And there's a Bible verse that says, he is at perfect peace whose mind is stayed on God because he trusts in you. And it's just, and the why question is wrong because you'll never know why so many times. But
So many times.
as you grow in faith and you know who, like if I know that Brooke is my friend and we are, and I don't always question the why she asked me to do stuff because there's a relationship there, there's a trust there. And so for me, oh my goodness, the changes that you experience, like moving from a continent to a different one and just coming back sooner than you think and all that, changing vocations in the last 5 years, it is chaotic and at points you feel sorry for yourself and you're like, this is not what I thought, Lord, and you get angry and then you get over that and you're like, do you know what? This is God and he's sovereign. You question his goodness and then you come full circle. He is good always.
It's good.
One of the things I think about with change that as I've studied it is the idea, one of the reasons we don't like change is because you feel like a beginner again. So when things change, you're not an expert anymore at your own life or how to navigate a new city, or you've become so comfortable in what was that when you change some aspect of your life, you have to start again. And it's this heart of humility and teachability, right? To just say like, what can I learn here? What's the new opportunity? What's the stretch?
You know, and it speaks to this article. They said at the very end of the article, it's fascinating. It's moving from the question that many say, and you'll see this in culture and in the news, why bad things happen to good people.
Right.
Moving to what can good people do when bad things
There
happen.
it is right there.
It's literally reframing
Yeah.
to ensure that when you navigate change, that's what you're looking at. And it's fascinating that, you know, I'm a person who wants to have everything resolved and the question why answered. And they actually say in the research, it actually hinders you from change because it will keep you back.
Yeah.
You get stuck. You don't move forward.
The why will get you stuck, 'cause
Yeah.
you'll never get it, will you? You'll never
No.
get that rollout of the full answer.
Which
You
you
won't get the
want.
full answer.
No,
I
you'll
think
never
when
get
you
the full
get
answer.
stuck on the why, then you miss like actually what God wants to do in this new place, right? Like I don't know why I'm in the burbs. Well, I know now why I'm in the burbs. It's because I've embraced
cheap housing.
I've embraced it. You know what I mean? But it's
I think sometimes the why isn't as important as we make it out to be because what's it going to change just because you know why, exactly why, right?
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, and I think too in the example of Maddie who did this, 12 years. Actually, the company was Bell, and they studied for 12 years the people that worked at Bell, and it was fascinating when they said when they actually went to the people that were not doing well. They kept saying, oh, remember the good old days? Remember when it was? Remember? And then they actually said, but it wasn't really great back then. You just elevate
You romanticize
and romanticize
it. Yeah.
the good, and you want that, but really,
Yeah, of Israel.
exactly, right? You kind of like, you
Yeah.
want that. And he said, but the people who thrived were like, well, it's happened. I lost my job. Things happened. And now how do I move forward? This is the circumstance I'm in. How do we move forward?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So change is inevitable, and change is good is essentially what we're
Right.
saying.
Oh, change is good. Say it with me.
Change is good.
Well, speaking about navigating change well, let's go to Melinda's interview with Dr. Heather Birch as she talks about how she navigates change next on See Hear Love.
Dr. Heather Birch, it's so great to have you here on See Hear Love for the start of our season 5, and as we talk about navigating change well, which I know you get because not so many years ago you were scooping up ice cream at the mall, and now you are the director of, I want to make sure I get this right, of
The education
program. Thank you, here at Tyndale. That's some big change. How did that happen? Because that seems like such a huge change from the mall to this amazing, amazing school.
Yes, so I started off as a teacher. I taught music and drama and dance in schools to young children. And then my husband's a pastor, so we made a move to a new town where he got a new job. And I was unable to get work as a teacher there. And I found it really frustrating, but eventually I had to try to find work of some sort. So I just applied for any job I could find. So I took a newspaper route.
Wow.
And I worked at an ice cream shop.
What was that like when you knew your gifting and abilities and passions and you wanted to be there, but you were not there? You were at the mall. How did you feel about that?
Well, I started to second guess my gifts and abilities and passions and wonder, was I really meant to be a teacher? But deep down, I knew that I was. And I believed that one day I would be again, even though I wasn't there at the moment.
Wow. So as we talk about navigating change well, what were some of the key markers that helped you get to where you are today?
I was doubting myself and feeling like I didn't want to be in this time. And my saddest day was when I looked down the hallway in the mall and saw a school choir come in with their teacher getting ready to sing Christmas carols. And I thought, that should be me. I shouldn't be stuck here behind the ice cream counter. And so what I did was I decided to take a step anyway toward my dream and to where I thought I would one day be again. And so I decided to study for my master's of curriculum teaching and learning.
Okay. And in that, you also made a decision to reach out to somebody. I think when change happens and to navigate it well, you can't be isolated and alone. You need people to journey with you through those changes.
So when I finished my master's and decided to begin the PhD program, I decided to look for a woman, a Christian woman who was in education, who had her PhD.
Okay.
I watched her, I learned from her, and even though I wasn't where I was, I just focused on her career and how she had gone through many changes and difficulties, and she was now in this position of, you know, being an academic, serving at Tyndale.
For viewers and young people that are listening and watching, that's really key. The mentoring, if you're not where you want to be, you're saying look for somebody who's there and connect with them and follow them.
Yes.
What would you say to somebody who's feeling down, who's feeling depressed and sad that they're not where they want to be and want to make change to where they honestly feel that God wants them to be?
Well, I think one thing we can do is look at my story and see how God took me from that place where I never thought I would be to this place now. And as we look at the community around us and see how throughout life there are changes. We go through different times when we're in different situations and scenarios, and often they're not where we need to get stuck. If we don't give up, if we continue taking steps toward moving to where we want to be, then we can do just that and move toward where we want to be.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you made that change, that you got a mentor, that you didn't give up, and that you're here today. So thank you, Dr. Heather Birch, for being with us.
Thank you.
Listen to this episode on the See Hear Love podcast to hear the backstory of the show.
Hi, I'm Melinda, host of See Hear Love, and this is the backstory of the backstory. we're going to be doing the backstory of each show. Why did I choose these topics for these See, Hear, Love shows? Because every time I sit and go, okay, what will be important topics or themes our viewers and listeners can relate to? And I'll be like, oh, that's a great topic to talk about. And so we thought, wouldn't it be great for people to hear how you came up with this story? So that's what the backstory is. You'll hear this on our podcast, you'll hear this on our YouTube channel. And as you can see, I have no makeup artist, I have no hairstylist. I'm pretty raw here. And I think that's what I want this backstory to be about.
Join us on Apple Podcasts.
I so enjoyed interviewing Dr. Heather Birch, just her thought about, navigating change. Anybody ever thought about what she said that spoke to you?
One of the things that I noticed that she said is she really practiced her gift of faith, I believe. She wanted to do this thing. She felt God was calling her to do it. And she went out and she did it, like, with her gift of faith, though. I mean, there's that verse that says, works without faith is dead. No, sorry. Faith without works is dead. And when she was speaking, that was what I really picked up. I was like, wow, like, go get it. That was a brave and bold thing that she did. And, like, God, like, totally opened the doors, and, like, look at her now, from scooping ice cream to, like,
It's awesome.
yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I love that. Well, speaking of change, I want to ask you all, and I've been thinking about this too, what is the hardest change you have had to go through or going through now? What's the hardest change that you've had to navigate through in your life currently? Hardest change.
When I was studying, and I thought that I was going to get into Old Testament studies because I really loved it all, and that took a hard left turn to ministry. Not that I looked down upon ministry, I just didn't think it was for me. And making that change when I was in my early 20s, it was hard. Because you're trying to figure out, God has given you a certain set of gifts and you think that this is how he's going to use it. You're good at it, you love it. And then you're like, this, are you crazy? And there was a point where I'm like, I knew that he was asking me to do it. That didn't make it easier though. And there was a lot of anger. Like, I poured so much of my life into this, and people are saying God's hand is upon you. Because, people talk and they see from their perspective, but I knew. And then I got there and I'm like, when did I ever complain? Because it just filled my heart in a way that I didn't know that it could fill, because God creates us and he knows what will fulfill us. It was hard, but no regrets. No regrets.
No regrets.
That's good. That's good. So you're sort of thinking one way.
It's like a dismantling of your dreams.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, dismantling of your dreams.
The loving,
Welcome to the change show, the encouraging change show.
The loving hand of God.
Dreams will be shattered.
And
so one thing you
replaced by
guys can take
something
away, your
better,
dreams may be
okay?
shattered.
And replaced by
thank
something
you,
better.
Lisa.
I can relate with that, Lisa, because from somebody who went from, like, pursuing a pop career for, like, many years of my, too many years of my life, never wanting to do ministry. Like, I can remember saying, like, I don't like Christian music. That's not for me. And God being like, oh, my sweet girl, like, I have a plan for you if you would only listen to me, I think, though, currently the moving from, downtown to the suburbs has been, like, the most recent change. And it was hard to make that shift in my brain. But once I chose to, like, see the good and see the gifts in this change, it's been easy.
So it's sort of perspective change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, I'm as I said, I'm in the middle of change after 12, 13 years working in church ministry. I've just left. And so I'm building my own business and doing media and digital and communications and all this kind of stuff, and helping a ton of churches and a ton of ministries now. And it's a totally new rhythm of life. For one thing, like, on Sundays, I just, like, go to church. And, like, in my whole adult life, I was curious to see how that change would affect me. I had this fear, like, what if I don't like going to church when I'm not paid to go? Turns out I still do.
That's a win. That's a win, Joe.
Yeah, but that change, you don't know until you go through the change.
Yeah,
like, how are you going to respond?
Yeah.
It's been good.
That's good.
For me, I think my biggest change was I was a real estate agent. And
I can see that, though.
Right? I could
Things we learn on the show about each other,
person
right?
in the Inuit. And I was really good at what I can do. And it was just, it was God just sort of pulling the rug, tugging my heart. And what was interesting for me is I had a love of money. confession. I had a love of money and I was doing really well. I was top 10% in Canada in the company I was working with, and I gave it all up and walked away. So my change has been learning to see and find God, rediscover Him as
Yes.
sustainer.
Yeah.
That's the tough part, you know, because we can sing it, we can pray it, we can kind of preach it, talk it, learn it, but when the rubber hits the road and you're looking at an empty cupboard, faith is kind of challenged. And
for
when you
sure.
when you have children, you get into
Yeah.
this place of questioning, like, God, you said full-time ministry, what's going on? And so I have to circle back to Dr. Heather about this not giving up.
Yeah.
Because as you walk this walk of faith, it will not always come together right away. It will not fall in place. It will dismantle. It will break down and reshape itself. But you need to stay the course and know that you know that you know
Yeah.
that God has called you for that
Yeah.
thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
It not only calls you, but like goes before you in that thing.
Goes
Yeah.
before,
right? And
clears the
Clears
path.
the way
for
and you're
right.
going, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
If I can be so honest, because
Yeah.
this is a woman's show, I think one of the hardest changes has been my body and my hair and the changing of the seasons as you get older as a woman. What happens?
Girlfriend.
Eyesight,
Earmuffs.
thighs,
Earmuffs.
sorry, thighs, hair, everything. I mean, being so honest, it's that as a woman changing, things change. And you go through from your 20s and 30s and as you get older, and you have to say, okay, if change is inevitable, things are going to change.
Yeah.
But who am I with Jesus? Because the world will say something, and you can go into change and be so upset and defeated and say, I didn't look like what I looked like when I was younger. But I think when I say hardest change, it's also been good because I've had to be confronted with core of who am I?
Identity.
Beauty and identity. Yeah, beauty comes in, you know, internal, and God loves me for who I am. So that's been, I mean, that's an honest thing. I'm just like, my hair doesn't have the same elasticity as it did before. So it's a hard thing, but it's good because it really challenges, you know, how I see myself and what I focus on and sort of the self-care and self-love for myself. So that's the real deal.
It's a real deal.
As we look at change for the show, there are some big changes happening. I mean, I think as you evolve, you know, this show started off as a web show in a small studio with TriCaster cameras that had like 3 different angles.
In a kitchen.
In a kitchen. Now you look and it's just like, you know, this with all the cameras and everything. But there's some big changes happening there. So we'll still be co-hosting, we'll still be contributing, but the two of you here are going to be going through the bigger changes for the show because you're going to be stepping into some new things. Lisa, I'm excited to hear about the new change for you.
I love it. And speaking of change, we are looking at generational changes as well. And the world is really picking up on the pace of change. And you young people in this audience here kind of know that firsthand. You're born into this changing world, whereas it was very stagnant in generations before. And so we're going to have a segment called Next Generation with Lisa. And it's just really getting...
With me.
Well, yeah, that is my name. And so the whole idea is to get your take on some of those issues that the church does need to face because, hey, no one's going to live forever. We're all going to go at one point, or the Lord Jesus is going to come. And the whole idea is that there's this world that is constant change and flux. How are you guys going to deal with this? And what is your perspective on it now? Does that need to change, or do we need to change as the generation before? So
Excited for that, Lisa. Brooke, you're going through some change too. Some add-ons here.
I'm so excited. So we're gonna have a new segment called Song and Story. It's gonna be with Joanna, and then myself and my husband Steve. We're gonna sing a song, like a worship song, either one that people are familiar with, or maybe one that I wrote. We don't know yet. And then Joanna's gonna teach out of the Bible, out of the song.
So as it relates to the song.
As it relates to the
that.
song, so it's going to be this like beautiful partnership of like song and story, and I'm actually like
I love that.
Yeah, I'm
It'll
so
bring attention to lyrics,
so
which
excited.
sometimes we
Yes,
don't.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there'll be some new segments. We've got like the news and views and different ones with one-on-one interviews with Melinda, how you can get involved. So it's going to be the same core essence of the show with these familiar faces, but new contributors and joining us. So I'm very excited. Joanna, we always love the good word. You always bring it and love how you bring context to each show. And I know you brought a verse today on change that I think we're really going to learn from you.
Yeah, Matthew 7, starting at verse 24, maybe you're familiar with it. Therefore, everyone who hears these words and puts them into practice is like a wise man who builds his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against the house, yet it did not fall because its foundation is on the rock. I mean, change is inevitable. We've just said change is going to happen in life, but we can plan for it if we put a foundation on God, right? That God is the secure, never-changing part of our life. And I think so many people, when change happens, like it's literally the bottom falls out from underneath them because they don't have a faith in God that sustains them through all the other changes. You know, I know for the changes in my life, for the changes I've talked about on the show in my family situation, there's been a lot of change for me this year. And yet, there's this firm foundation underneath it that has carried my family, that has carried myself, that's carrying me through changes that I'm going through. And so some changes, like in this storm, right, they're predictable. Like seasons change, we can predict that. But some storms come up out of nowhere. And so have we prepared for it? Have we actually built our life on something that will last?
That's awesome, encouraging.
I have a song already. I'm ready for this.
You're ready for it.
So good.
That is good. Thank you, Joanna, for that, because I think those are really good reminders for us as we talk about how to navigate change. Wow. I believe that the greatest challenges that millennial and Gen X women are facing today are these: that they don't feel that they are seen, heard, or loved. See Her Love gives an opportunity for women to share honestly and authentically about what God has done in their lives.
Finding other women going through the same journey and walking through the same season of life as them.
The choices from the past that have hurt us doesn't have to define us today.
Amen.
By having a place where we can have this emotional exchange, but also intellectual discussion on how to apply those biblical principles in real life.
And reestablishing the identity of the women of today.
I will dare to hope. Because sometimes we think, I am what happened to me. When we've trusted Christ, you say, I am a child of God.
Many women who would not necessarily even go to church or have any interest in that, they're receiving the good news of Jesus.
I'm sticking with God. I say it over and over. He's all I've got left.
I love that. It's so encouraging.
So good.
This show is reaching a new generation, a younger generation with the truth and love of Jesus Christ. My hope is that when we share, there will be a sense of unity and love that transcends and goes right to living rooms and mobile phones, wherever you are. That's why I'm so excited to be a part of See Her Love. Well, here's my takeaways that I learned from this show, from these amazing, amazing team. Change is inevitable, and change is gonna happen, and change is good. Always step forward. Don't look back. And God is always with you. He is your firm foundation. And so from all of us here at See Hear Love, and from the student audience, we want to remind you that you are seen, heard, and loved by God. Bye-bye. Joanna, we always love the good word. You always bring it and love how you bring context to each show. And I know you've brought a verse today on change that I think we're really going to learn from you.
Yeah, Matthew. It's in Matthew 7. I think it's like a very familiar text, and you know, basically the text is talking about where we put our trust. In Matthew 7. Sorry, I'm sorry. I got to start this again because I can't actually find it because half of this book is Korean.
It's in columns, so you just need to go down the columns.
I'm trying, and
I knew she was done for when she did this.
I cannot.
I was like,
She's like
in
this.
trouble.
Matthew, I'm sorry.
I'm looking at yours, and I'm like, somebody help me find it.
Do you want to get your
Okay, no.
Bible?
Okay.
Do you want to get
It's
your
just in columns.
Can you throw to me again?
Yeah, I'll
Let's
throw
try
it to you
this
again.
again.
We're gonna take that up.
Jeez.
So this again is how it happens.
My mom's gonna like that
You're
her Bible's
literally gonna see.
featured.
Okay.
Melinda's Hair by Paolo Marola. Melinda's Clothing sponsored by Denise Boutiques. Clothes for every woman. Shop denise.ca.
Deeks Insurance is a proud sponsor of the See Hear Love Studio.